When's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore that shore up above?
You got the voice of an
Yeah,
angel, man.
it seems like a good idea to start
Out
with
of the
Disney coming after us
sea.
for copyright.
Wish I can be. Oh, wait, sorry.
Part
This is the wrong
of this
podcast.
world.
Sorry. I thought we were reviewing The Little Mermaid. The NBA Finals have kicked off or will kick off this Thursday, June 1st, 2023. We have two franchises who had some run to get to this spot. First, we have the Miami Heat in what
Let's
is a
go.
miraculous story. Losing the play-in game, coming back, lose to Atlanta, defeat Chicago. They take care of the Milwaukee Bucks in 5 games. They defeat the New York Knicks in 6. And then they compete in an Eastern Conference Finals, which is no doubt one of the bizarre series of our lifetime. And they are back in the NBA Finals, first time since 2020. And now in the West Coast, a team that dominated all season long and kicking ass. They defeat the T-Wolves, they defeat the Phoenix Suns, and they defeat the Los Angeles Lakers, and they are in their first ever NBA Finals. So that brings it. The Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Right off the bat, before we get into game one, before we talk about each team individually and hit on the Celtics a little bit as well, and some other interesting NBA tidbits like a new CBA deal. Guys, tell me right away, what do you think about the Heat versus the Nuggets in the NBA Finals?
What do you mean? Let me start it off saying this.
Like
y'all
I'm
boys.
asking your initial reactions from this matchup right now.
I told y'all boys the Heat would get here. I told y'all. I have not been consistently on the show, but I have told y'all the Heat was gonna make it here. And now that we here, I gotta get my best Kendrick Perkins on real quick and just let y'all know, right? The Miami Heat are gonna take the Nuggets in 6.
Oh, you're
That's
out
my
of your fucking you're out of your fucking mind.
Wait, hold on,
Nah,
Matt.
I'm not-
When
I'm
you
not.
flip
You're out of
this,
your mind.
Matt, when you
Yeah.
put up the little pieces of this, I need you to take a picture, the bar saying I told you guys, and compare it to who he said was actually going to win when we did this at the beginning of the playoffs. Because there's no way. The only one of us who got anywhere close is me. I
had one of the best predictions of all time that San Diego State will make the national championship. I did that. I came on said that on here. He was there for that.
Yes, he did.
I did say that. So I'll give myself some credit for that.
This is going to maybe 6, but this is not going to. Denver's going to win this.
I mean,
if they can win in 3, they're going to.
I think every game is going to be close in the series. Like, I don't think they're going to blow them out in every game. Like, Miami has a great zone defense with Eric Spoelstra, who's one of the best, probably not one of the best coaches. I think he's the best coach in the NBA, arguably. Okay, I really believe that.
How do you beat a zone? You put a big man who can pass in the middle of the zone. And I don't know about you, but like Nikola Jokic is kind of good. I think
the X factor in this series is going to be Jamal Murray because they're all going to be fixated on Jokic. I mean, Jokic is going to get his buckets, obviously, but like that's what I think the difference in the series is going to be is that the Nuggets have a good number 2. I think Jamal Murray as a number 2 is much better than Bam Adebayo as the 2 for
Miami. Jimmy Butler is the number 2 to Caleb Martin.
Oh yeah,
we don't need Bam Adebayo when we got our 6, 7, and 8 guys stepping up like
you
they
absolutely
do.
Need.
Yeah, you absolutely need.
No hope of stopping Jokic without him.
Listen, we got Kevin Love, Cody Zeller. We got.
I'm pretty sure I can score on Kevin Love.
I'm pretty sure I can score on Kevin Love. But Cody Zeller is going to give you maybe not the offensive prowess, but he's going to give you some smart basketball IQ. Come on, like if you got
who is Cody Zeller? Who is he going to guard? Like, is he going to guard Jokic? He got played off the floor against Rob Williams and Al Horford, and they're like combined, not even anywhere close as good as Jokic.
I mean,
listen, Rob Williams was a much more physical center, and he actually provided a lot of.
He's not more physical than Jokic. He just jumps higher.
He's more physical than Cody Zeller.
The one thing I will say about Denver is that they haven't necessarily played a team as defensively good as Miami because Miami was the number 1 defense in the entire league in terms of points against. So that could be
wasn't the Lakers the number 1 in defense in the playoffs?
No, they in the playoffs, yeah, but not in the regular season. Miami was number 1. So I mean, I feel like Miami has a little bit of a different offensive scheme than the Lakers did. But like I said, I actually think every game is going to be close in this series. But I would take the Nuggets in 5. in this series.
Okay, I see how y'all say that because the Nuggets are the number 1 seed in the West. They got Jamal Murray, they got the 2-time MVP in Jokic, but at the same time, let's look at the rest of them, right? You got Aaron Gordon, great defensively. You got KCP, he can shoot the ball. You got Michael Porter Jr., great offensively. What do they all lack? Defense, except Aaron Gordon.
I mean,
Defense.
I think what it's going to come down to in this series is that Miami has they're able to score the ball, score the ball a little bit better than Miami can. They have more depth. They have more guys that can score the ball besides more than Miami.
Bigger.
Bruce Brown,
they're
they got
so much bigger. Like
yeah,
that's
they're bigger.
A big difference.
And so was the Celtics.
I mean,
And
you got two guys.
Yeah,
you got two guys averaging,
Boston. There's
25
nobody on Boston,
Denver,
who has Michael Porter Jr.'s mentality. He's going to see Gabe Vincent trying to guard him, and he's going to shoot 45 times a game. Like,
and if not for your lucky ass player in the the best player on the Celtics team during that series, Derek White, I called Heat in 6 against the Celtics. I called that one too.
Who do you think is going to guard Jokic for the Miami Heat? The primary ball defender.
It's going to be Bam.
Miami, like y'all said, Miami plays a really good zone, but their man is also really good too, and they switch really, really well.
Yeah,
they
can't
make
switch
a
on
lot
Jokic.
of switches. You can't switch on Jokic, but you can elite. They're going to double him, is what I see.
Okay, that's a problem. So you can't double the Jokic either.
Because you're gonna get
average 4 alley-oops a game if you double him.
Who?
Aaron Gordon's gonna average 4 alley-oops a game if you double him.
Hey, listen, I'd rather take Aaron Gordon throwing up an alley-oop and us probably catching that as opposed to Jokic.
No, he's gonna catch it from Jokic.
Swacking threes in people's faces from with no effort with a dirt kick. I don't have time for that.
That shit is unbelievable.
No, I watched those highlights, but I'll have to say another thing too. What test, what storm have the Nuggets really weathered this playoffs? They played the
Devin Booker turning on 2K mode and forgetting how to shoot for almost 3 straight games.
Okay, that's great.
Also, Anthony Davis is a better defender than anybody on Miami.
True. That's very true. Now let's break this down. Right? Devin Booker went 2K mode, right? Everyone else's sliders were turned off.
Yeah, Anthony Davis no help.
Anthony Davis dropped fucking 40, and it still wasn't enough. You feel what I'm saying? Because LeBron is old, and they basically put that team together at a trade deadline. You know what I'm saying? They had no real chemistry to get together, bond, and gel. They had no mesh on that team. And then they played the fucking Timberwolves, my guy. The Timberwolves, who will be perennial bottom tier playoff teams in the West, for the next 3 years.
Yeah, but guys, I'll just finish your thought really quick.
The problem with that is the Miami doesn't have anything. They have shittier versions than everything they play. Jimmy Butler's not going to miss 7 times in 2 games. Bam Adebayo is not going to turn into Anthony Davis. They've already dealt with those things. It's a lesser version of things that they dealt with. So it's not your argument is counterintuitive. You can't argue that Miami.
Jimmy went to Boston and got 6 steals. Jimmy went to Boston and got 6 steals. Look at the steals that Jimmy averaged for that entire run against Boston.
Yeah, because Jaylen Brown can't dribble.
And Giannis was hurt. Giannis was hurt in that first series too, but he was hurt.
Well, guys, I really appreciate the potpourri to start.
Excuses. That's what I hear. Excuses. Them boys is going down.
So
Miami got good basketball IQ.
So
great coach.
Great stuff to start off the bat. Now let's just put a little structure in this. And we'll first talk about the Heat, the keys to victory for them, then Denver, and then we'll take it from there. So focusing on the Miami Heat, and we know their story, and it's pretty impressive with Jimmy Butler, Bam, and a bunch of players undrafted, led by Eric Spoelstra, who clearly is making his case as the best current NBA coach, if not the best next to Greg Popovich. But according to this right here, guys, tell me some of the keys to victory specifically for Miami to win it all.
This is a general question. Is Tyler Hero coming back? Do we
Game three. They think
he should be back sometime this series. Yes.
Yeah, they think he's supposed to be back game 3.
Okay. Yeah, the only way they win is Jokic gets hurt. That's it.
Or
Like,
Jamal Murray get hurt.
I think they could survive that. They'll just play
Ah.
Christian Braun more.
I don't think.
I
the
mean,
Nuggets can
also
survive
what
Jamal Murray getting hurt.
you also have to realize is that Miami's going to be playing at high altitude. I actually saw the altitude that was, I want to say it was like 5,000 feet above ground, and it was like
Yeah,
6
how
in
much
Miami.
of does
You have to also say that's going to play an X factor for Miami, who's not used to playing in that
They say
altitude.
that every year, but
as
like
opposed
that's
to,
going to affect them for like one game or
as
quarter.
opposed to
Yeah,
Denver,
that's
who's
word.
been playing there all year, so and is used to it. So I don't really know. Going from Miami to Denver is a completely, like, one's barely above sea level and one's at like the Rocky Mountains.
They say that.
It's
They
a
say
very
that in the
dip
NFL.
trajectory.
They say that in the NFL, and people go to Denver and get dubs all the time, like literally out in the
Okay,
cold.
that's just because they had a bad team this year. Like,
Yeah, you can't compare the Broncos to the Denver Nuggets.
Well, you're also
Broncos
playing
are
outdoors.
very
You're also
crazy.
playing outdoors.
No,
You're also playing outdoors.
I'm comparing altitude. So the altitude shouldn't matter much inside the building. If, if winds play.
No, it's still going to matter.
It's still going to matter. You're 100%.
It's still going to matter. It just depends on how long it's going to matter. Is it going to be game one and then game two they're set, or is it going to be the first two games and the Heat have no idea how to adjust to it? Because supposedly it's an adjustment period and it takes weeks for some people to get adjusted.
First off, they're professional players. They played in Miami multiple times during the season. It's not like this is like
Denver.
something new that they don't have to do. You suck wind for like 5 minutes and they'll be fine.
Yeah. And Miami is also, those players are playing in humidity all the time. Like, they're in awful conditions. I hate going to Florida because you run around for 2 seconds and you're dead. So those guys are conditioned too. I don't know why people are saying such a big storyline.
Last time I
wouldn't say it's a
Miami
big storyline,
issue-
but it's something that may be have to be considered.
The last time Miami had an issue with like heat and stuff was in 2014 when LeBron crapped because the San Antonio Spurs turned the AC off. Like, let's not pretend that's going to be an issue either.
Nah, I really feel like it's going to be a pretty climate controlled building. Like you said, altitude might play a small factor, but these guys travel all the time. Like, altitude shouldn't be that much of a factor, in my opinion. But like, it is what it is. So keys to victory for me, I believe. Like, I'll be my unbiased opinion, right? For the Nuggets, Joker got to go off. He's been having triple doubles the entire playoff. He's averaging a triple double. They got to stop that 30 point. They got to stop that. In order to stop that, you got to first of all hold that man to under 10 assists. Let him rebound the place off, but hold him to under 10 assists. If you can hold him to under 10 assists, like hold him to like about 7 assists, that's one big key to victory. You got to cut down his passing, make him score the ball. Like we saw with Anthony Davis, you could score 40 points and still lose the game. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
like,
yeah, okay.
Denver did sweep.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of gonna disagree with you a little bit there. Like, I think Miami's key to victory would be to limit Jamal Murray. I think Jamal Murray is going to be the X factor in that player because Jokic is going to get his. I mean, Jokic is going to.
They got to win in a shootout.
He's going to average 25, 30. He's going to get his. Like, you can't necessarily prevent a player from getting his. I think what you really got to do is prevent Jamal Murray and their other secondary players from scoring because they've been a balanced unit throughout the playoffs, and I think that's
I feel all right. So what they need for him, and they showed it with the Rui Hachimura matchup, is you need somebody who's going to disrupt him. Rui may be a good defender, but he know Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler might be on Jokic at least 35 to 40% of the defensive time. Like, literally, like handling some of that defensive position on Jokic. Bam is quick and he can get out to the line and he can guard Jokic from out there. Yeah, Jokic might get a couple threes on him, because he's taller and bigger, but Bam might actually be able to hold him, disrupt his handles a little bit because he's a big man. So he should be able to do something with that. They lock him up real quick, but
Miami 1-5 against Denver in the last like 3 years or something.
I'll confirm that.
Yes,
but,
Miami lost twice to Denver this year, but they were both close games.
But it's just simple for the Nuggets. Your offensive players have to play. They have to be on, and they have to at least carry some weight on defense. Legitimately, Aaron Gordon can't defend the whole team. I see what you're saying. KCP got a little bit of defense.
Jimmy Butler's the second worst player he's had to guard the entire playoffs.
Second worst player he's had to guard the entire playoffs.
Yeah, he went from I think he was guarding Anthony Edwards the first round to Kevin Durant to LeBron to Jimmy Butler. Like, Jimmy Butler, Like even shitty LeBron is still better than Jimmy Butler.
I don't know about that. I kind of don't
Yeah,
know about that.
LeBron
Jimmy
James
had-
is LeBron James was
City-
an All NBA third team this year. LeBron James had a great year this year, even
Yeah.
in spite of everything. I mean, LeBron's
Listen,
still incredible this year.
This Cinderella underdog story is going to be real great because everyone's sleeping on the Heat right now. Everyone sees the power that the Nuggets have.
I wouldn't say everyone's sleeping on the Heat. I would say people are just giving the Nuggets their due, like which people haven't given
And
the
it's
Nuggets their
also
due
like-
throughout the entire playoffs. So I think people are finally realizing, hey, this team is pretty good.
How are they
And
not
it's also
giving
like
the Nuggets
Miami
their due?
hasn't played a team
Time
that
MVP. They swept it. They swept the Lakers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the sweep of the Lakers is not as bad as people thought. Like some of those Laker games were a possession or two away of being a closer series. It was like a weird sweep. Like it
One
was
of
a
the more
competitive sweep.
competitive sweeps.
Yeah, that's
Which
what I was
is-
gonna thank you, Matt. It's like a same thing alike. Like we were just like it was a competitive sweep. Like the Lakers missed a few buckets and they would have been right in that series. It wasn't
Yeah,
like they were
that-
getting blown up by 20 every single game.
That's what
This
I
is-
think is going to happen with the series. Like it's going to be pretty close, but like every game is
This-
going to be close between Miami and Denver.
This is what I mean. If Denver wants to keep Miami out of the game, they need to stop them from scoring. The only person that can stop Miami from scoring is Miami when they
Okay,
start
but hold
shooting
up,
bad
like-
shots.
But like, here's the thing with Miami: if what happens when Miami, like where they have a game 6 where Jimmy and Bam can't hit the broadside of the barn, Denver's not going to collapse the same way that Boston did. That game's going to end in like 10 minutes. Like they're going to
And what if-
blow that game out.
And what
the
if
only-
Jimmy
like-
has a game like he did in game 1?
I mean,
Yeah, where
I
he
would
sucked
say
for 95% of the game.
I mean, what I also think is an X factor in the series is that Miami's been there in the bubble. Like they already played in the finals. Like they know what it takes.
They've
Like
been
they
to the
have more
finals.
more
but they
playoff
weren't going up
experience
against
than Denver. So like I
Jokic
would
don't
say
got no
they have
finals
a coach.
experience.
They have a
That
coach who's
pressure is
been there.
different.
They have a coach who's been there, and they have a team that's been there. So I think that also has a little bit to do with it. Like that's what I think
Miami,
could be an X factor
Sorry.
for Miami is that they have
Look,
more
the
experience.
only
than
way
Denver.
I think that's really an X factor, and this is my big gripe with Denver's offense from time to time, is if Jamal Murray thinks it's Jamal Murray time and he starts
Yeah.
chucking things up. Like that's always my biggest issue. Is like sometimes he takes too many possessions. It's fine when Jokic is on the bench and they don't have a fulcrum, but when Jokic is on the floor, Jamal Murray should not have like 4 or 5 possessions where he's dribbling out the clock and then doing a Jamal
Hey,
Murray shot. Like
don't
that's
forget.
what's going to be a problem.
Don't forget
also,
the
like-
Heat. The Heat have been to the finals more time than any team since 06.
No, wait.
This is their
No.
6th finals.
Yes,
Well,
That is
Pat
seven
Riley's been
finals
to
appearances.
25%
Seven
of
finals
NBA
appearances.
finals. That's a
Mhm.
wild stat. Pat Riley's been in a quarter of the NBA finals. 25%. I heard that stat today.
That's right. Either as a
Seven
player,
close-
coach,
Yeah,
or
it's experience.
executive.
25%.
Wait, no, that's
of
not true because Golden State's been to 6.
Miami's been to 7. This is Miami's 7th.
because
You have the
Spoelstra's
4
been in-
LeBrons
Also,
and then
with the 4 LeBrons
Heat.
and then the 2 Wades and then this
Yeah.
one. Yeah, okay.
But anyways, those are different. But
Yeah, like
Regardless.
Wait,
So
who's
Eric Spoelstra has been to the finals 7 times. He's got finals experience.
okay, but like the
He's a
finals
coach, Paul.
players that are
Didn't-
there,
didn't,
it's like 3 guys.
Didn't Pat Riley coach that team in 06?
Yes, he did.
He's either been the player,
Yeah, so wouldn't it be-
a coach, and executive. But like
Spoelstra's been there
bubble
6
team
times. Just
Six
to
is-
clarify. Spoelstra's been there 6.
Okay.
This will be his 7th.
Oh yeah, but are you counting as like an executive and coach or Pat or like because
No,
like
Pat Riley is all of it. Players, executive, coach. Like he's been.
yeah because
his-
okay.
but
That
like,
culture in Miami is built the way it's built
okay, but like,
on
how many
scouting
of those
and
players have had,
developing.
like finals minutes? It's like 4. Jimmy, Bam, Tyler Hero,
Kevin
Duncan
Love.
Robinson.
Kevin Love.
Kyle-
Love's been
Kyle
playing
Lowry.
Oh, Kevin Love.
Kevin
yeah,
Love.
Yeah.
Okay, but like a majority of them haven't.
And let's
KCP's
look
had
at
final experience.
that's
Jeff
one.
Green's
That's
been in
one.
the finals.
Jeff Green's been to the finals. Yes, so is KCP. But when you look at the finals experience on Miami Heat, it outweighs what's on the Nuggets.
But like one series. It's not. I don't think it's
No.
that big a difference.
Dogs, listen, I'll give the Nuggets their flowers when we put them in a box.
so elaborating on that, what does Denver have to do to stop this Miami team?
They got to play defense. They got to make sure they score. They got to stop Miami. They got to blow Miami out within the first 2 quarters, literally.
You muted yourself.
I
But, like,
mean,
Once you have Miami within, sorry about the technical difficulty. Once you have Miami within a 10-point gap, look at every 10-point gap that they've been in the series. They'll come back. Even in game 6 in Boston, I mean in Miami, they came back. Like,
yeah, because this is
like,
the most, but this is the best, most consistent offense they've played against. Like Denver, but Milwaukee was collapsing by the end of that series. Other than Jalen Brunson, nobody on the Knicks wanted to shoot the ball. And then Boston can't finish a game all season. Like Denver's not going to have those problems. Like that's why, like it's different when you say, "Oh yeah, you got to keep them within 10; they're so live." But part of that comes from the fact that the teams that they're playing, their late game execution is dog shit. Like Miami, Denver's not going to have that issue. I think the issue for Denver is basically just don't get rattled by the fact that like one game Gabe Vincent's going to hit a three, or a couple games Duncan Robinson. Like Duncan Robinson is not going to be taking guys off the dribble in Denver that he was in Boston. Like that's absurd.
We will see. We will see. Michael Porter Jr. is not going to get as loose as he was. Like,
why?
Hold on.
He's 6'10". There's like 3 players on Miami who are that tall.
You're right. You are correct. There are players that are that tall. Jimmy Butler will take Michael Porter out the game.
Okay, well then Jamal Murray's going to cook everybody else.
Who is?
Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray can only cook for so much against good offense. I mean, good defense. We'll find out. Like I said,
he did score 30 in one half in this postseason.
Who tested? In what team was that?
Lakers.
Yeah.
We're talking about a team about as fast as my grandma.
Okay,
but that Miami the team as fast as your grandma with the Nuggets. Yeah, I mean it is an interesting one team mostly dominated. They only lost 3 games during their 4 rounds, and Miami just keeps playing and playing and playing. And that's one of the questions I have for you all here. Do you think it matters that the Denver Nuggets had 10 days off compared to the Heat, who just exhausted themselves to get here, literally scratched and clawed their way to an NBA Finals?
I actually think sometimes the layover is not such a good thing. When you have a 10-day layover, a lot of times, like in the NFL playoffs, it's actually not a good thing because you can't get yourself in game mode. So I feel like if they've had 10 days off, they may lose a little bit of focus. So I think they're going to come out a little bit sluggish in game 1. Like expect Miami to, I feel like, lead that game at halftime. I think Miami's going to be leading by like close to 10 points in the first half. But then I think Denver's going to be Denver's going to get sea legs back. But I mean, sorry,
it's
I'll
weird. Like also because normally when they have that break, they go, "Oh, you want to rest your older guys," because usually it's like vet guys who are like leading the charge. But Denver, they're all kind of young. Like Jokic is like 28. He's like the oldest guy that they really rely on, other than like Jeff Green, who's like 4 million years old. They don't got like guys that they're going to run to. Like I think they're fine. I think it's mostly just for them to deal with going over his own defense, how to break his own defense, or whatever Miami's pet plays have been over the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's a little harder with Miami because every 10 minutes they have a different guy going off because they have like 4 players left available. But I don't think it'll make much difference.
So
I think it's probably closer to what Hayden said.
Do I have a little room for some satire real quick? How many rings does Jeff Green have?
1, I think. I think he was on that. Was he on the Cavs team that won? I think that would be the only one that would have won. He might have been there after.
Yeah, I think he got to that Cavs team after they won.
Okay, so KCP has a ring.
Yeah. So listen, this is the funny thing, right? Jeff
Green has never won the NBA Finals before.
Yeah, Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, they fall under players that I call cursed. Like, you put these guys on your team, you ain't winning shit. Boston put Blake Griffin on the team, look what happened. They ain't winning shit. Chris Paul on the Suns, they ain't gonna win. Listen, certain players are just like cursed to never win anything. Like, and that's the little satire part. Like, let's be honest and real. Jeff Green, he's got a lot of experience. And he's going to carry some Udonis Haslem type leadership into the Nuggets.
Except he plays. Except he plays. Udonis Haslem doesn't play.
No, Udonis Haslem doesn't play. He does not play. He's like your grandfather that don't leave the couch. You know what I'm saying? You know he means business, but he ain't gonna get up. Like it's just like seriously, like no, all jokes aside, for the Heat to win, we can't be shooting a galore of threes.
That's what I was.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what
You
I was gonna
can't.
say. If
That's what killed Boston. They died by the three.
for the X factor, like for like Denver, I would say like just being able to stop the three, because like I feel like Miami doesn't have enough players that can attack the hoop quite like Denver does. So if like I feel like if you can like neutralize the 3-pointer, Miami's not gonna have enough players that can attack the hoop.
With Oladipo down, with Tyler Hero down, those first 3 games, those first 2 games till Tyler Hero gets back, like you're gonna see like not too much hoop rim attacking, but then again at the same time, the Nuggets don't got no fucking rim protectors. So like I think Miami will push the paint.
Can protect the rim.
He gets a couple blocks, but he ain't no Anthony Davis. He ain't no Rudy Gobert.
He's not a block guy. He's a poke the ball out of your hands as you're going up with it guy. Like
the guy still got like 12 rebounds a game. So like I would say he can rebound and defend a little bit.
He can rebound.
Nope.
He's gonna impact the game where he's gonna impact the game. He's a big man. He better be fucking rebounding. That's all I know.
No rebounds, no rings.
Also, what version of Kyle Lowry are you getting every night? Like
what happened?
That's been a problem too. Like the problem with Miami is
big booty Lowry.
They're so inconsistent. Like you can't rely on your guys from game to game. Like you never know what game you're getting out of Kyle Lowry. Man might forget how to play basketball, didn't shoot the ball for like another week.
I mean, Kyle still averaged like at least 10 points this like at least 10 like 12 points this playoffs. I can say that much at least. A few rebounds. He's had
some pretty terrible games. Like it's Denver's just more consistent.
Yeah, they're more consistent, but Kyle Lowry runs that second unit. He runs that second unit, and they push the ball. That second unit pushed the ball way more than the first unit does. Kyle Lowry controls the pace.
So, like, you think Miami could still win that series if, like, Gabe Vincent all of a sudden goes cold and, like, hasn't been, like, playing out of his mind, or Caleb Martin doesn't have a great series like he did last series? Like, I don't think
Caleb Martin's been averaging 19, almost 20 points this entire playoffs.
Caleb Martin was unbelievable. Should have won the Eastern Conference MVP last year.
I believe so, too.
In that series. But, like, let's say those guys go a little bit cold for a stretch. Like, I don't think they can weather that storm, personally, Miami. Yeah, I think Denver has enough players. I think Denver has enough players where if Jokic gets a little bit cold or Jamal Murray, they have enough players behind that can pick up the load. I personally do not think Miami does.
Like, they may get cold, but they don't get cold mentally, so I think they can do it. Listen, it's there. We're making Spoelstra is good at making these guys step up.
Okay, but like you can't overcome just missing. Like it doesn't matter how much you like ooh-rah-rah and stuff. If guys, because like the big thing that people talk about, and this is rightfully so, is Miami suddenly remembered how to shoot. Like they were like one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the league prior to the playoffs, and now everyone decided they're shooting. I think it was like 10 points higher than their expected average. Like that's absurd.
And last year we were the best shooting, like one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league. So,
yeah, but it's not like you're taking different shots than you were in the regular season. It's just they're going like what? That's just that he's right. Like if they go like even if I think if the percentages drop off just slightly, they're screwed.
Yo, you win some, you lose some, but you can't hit every shot. We're not Robert Williams. You know what I'm saying? Like
you can't.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing.
But he can't get into the Celtics trap though, right? Like that's what we saw with the Celtics. They were live by 3, die by 3, and when they died by 3, they died pretty freaking badly. So that's the problem with the Heat. I see too. That if they struggle from the 3-point line, then they're screwed.
But the Heat were shooting 50% from the 3 in that last series. 50% as a team.
That's unsustainable.
That's absurd.
Yeah, that's the point.
We only need 42% to win this. 50 is wild. We only need like 37.
No. You beat a Boston team that 50 is wild. 42 is still wild.
And you still barely beat Boston. They almost probably should have won that series. They could argue
they should never have won that series. They should never win that series.
You could argue the data doesn't go down.
Bad officiating and hardcore luck like push them to game 7. I don't want to hear that.
I mean, yeah, but also their late game execution, which again is what kept the Miami in games that they shouldn't have been in.
Yeah, well, Miami even without them like botching it. Miami has great late game execution, period, followed up by great late game defense. Y'all really need to go watch those last like 4 minutes of those games where they
But
come
again,
back and watch that defense.
But again, if the defense in part is predicated on the fact that the team that you're playing or the teams that they have playing do not have the same level of late game execution that Denver does.
They literally,
Like,
yeah, you're right.
Because it's easier to guard my Milwaukee because it's Giannis pick and rolls and then just build a wall. And then Giannis by the end of the series didn't want to shoot it anymore. It was easy to guard New York because it's Jalen Brunson versus the world. It was easy enough to guard Boston, especially at the end, because Jaylen Brown went, here, have the ball every other possession. Like, and then again, this has been a season-long thing. They forgot that Derek White actually knows how to play and can actually play because that's when they made their comeback in the fourth. It's like Denver's not going to have those issues.
Yo, you're sleeping. Miami won't have these issues either. Shut down the best two players on Denver, right? What are they gonna
Literally
do?
nobody has stopped Jokic.
That's a tall task.
No,
That's
exactly.
Shut
No
down
one
the two best
yet.
players. Is
No one
tall
yet.
task.
Shut down. Yo, listen. And let's say Miami could do it, right? Let's say you shut down the two best players in Miami. Their bench is gonna go nuts.
I mean, the Heat part's easy because Bam Adebayo barely showed up this postseason.
52
You have to
points
just stop Jimmy
from
at
the
this
bench.
point.
52 points from the bench. 52, like, look at the points they're getting from these undrafted players. Yeah, I understand. And I see what everyone's like, qualm is against the Heat.
Yeah, it's nice. These
And-
guys are going to maybe get paid because of depending on the salary cap. But like,
Mark my words, Heat is 6.
We're gonna save those for the end, those predictions.
That's a
But
hot take, baby.
Also breaking news reported by Shabs, just a quick note. Monty Williams of the Detroit Pistons have agreed to a 6-year, $72 million deal for Williams to be the new head
it's
coach.
a great fucking hire.
It's a great deal. Yeah,
I love that
agree.
hire.
Tell
I
me
was
your
listening to
thoughts
that
about
last
Monty
time. I love it.
Williams right now. And then we'll go
I
back
mean,
to the
Pistons
yeah,
about to be in the playoffs next year.
that's an absolutely fantastic hire. I mean, he took the Suns, he completely revamped the culture there. He had the most wins. I want to say he had the most wins out of any coach for the last 4 years when he was in
Something
Phoenix.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah, he did an
absolutely.
absolutely fantastic job with the Suns, and I feel like that's a team that needs new energy. So I feel like he's going to give them a rush in the arm and a jolt of energy that they haven't had previously. That team's going to be a playoff team, but I would say his second year. They're going to be ready.
Also, I mean, yeah, he's a good coach for them, but the biggest thing holding them back is Cade. Like, how healthy is Cade going to be? Because if he's not healthy, it's not going to matter. He played like 12 games this year or something. Like, they're not really going to go anywhere if he's not playing as well. And also, it depends on what they have moved. They should move up in this draft, but we'll see.
I agree with Bob.
Like, this is a
Yes.
good hire for them. Him and Nick Nurse are probably the best two coaches for them, and I think Nick Nurse fucked it up going to Philadelphia
Why is that?
because Philadelphia is a shit show, and they should blow it up.
But doesn't he have experience with Daryl Morey? Doesn't he have like some kind of history with him?
No, I think they were together they might have been together in Houston.
In Houston, right? They got a little bit of history together.
But the best case scenario is you bring this team back, and like we know the ceiling of this team is the second round.
I'm getting rid of James Harden all fucking day. Like, I'm tired of that shit.
Yeah,
I pick up a Jaylen Brown at this point.
I would not pick up Jalen Brown over James Harden. I wouldn't actually sign either of them. That's such a disaster, especially the way that with the second apron is. That's such a disaster to pay Jaylen Brown fucking $300 million or whatever they're about to sign him to.
Yeah,
I would never give him
he's
that
not a
much. I don't
super
know
max
about that.
player.
Well,
Jaylen
yeah,
Brown's
5
not a
years
super max
extension.
powers. And
After that bum ass performance, 8 turnovers, you ain't getting no fucking extension from me. You getting traded. Like, you
Well,
get bench time.
this is a good transition about the Celtics right now, and a team that could possibly blow it up. So we saw the Celtics were a game away from being the first ever team in the NBA to go down 3-0 in a series and win it all. Now it's 151-0. Even though we saw them pull off one of the outright coolest endings to an NBA game ever, only to lose a couple of days later. And with the Derek White
They're like the
pushback.
fourth team to make a game 7 from down 3-0. Or maybe
Yeah.
they're the fifth.
Yeah,
remember
it's rarely
They were
happened.
the fourth. I think.
Well,
Okay, that could have been the fifth. I don't know. I'm
But
blanking on that stat now.
But after all this goes down, what's the next step for the Celtics? Do we blow it up, or do we try one more time, keeping Missoula with this squad? And if you are extending Jaylen Brown and you keep the team mostly the same and you see who you add, what do you do? Blow it up, keep it?
Hit that bitch with the Hiroshima.
No, I don't agree with you on that. I
Oh.
think they should keep it. They were within one game of the NBA Finals. Arguably, if things had gone their way, they would have been in the finals. Like, I actually think Joe Mazzulla did a fantastic job.
Did save
all
his
things
job.
considered. I do. I actually think like you keep this group intact. Jason Tatum's gonna get his ring. I feel like, and I feel like they should bank all their money on Jason Tatum. He's really that good. Like I
We
feel like
know-
he's one of the. I feel like he's one of the top. He's probably one of the top 10 players in the NBA, if not. And I feel like with his upside, could become one of the top five players in the NBA. I really believe in him that much. That guy's an absolute star, and I feel like they should be putting
Fraud.
their money on him. I don't agree with people who are saying that he's
He's
not.
a fraud.
I don't agree with that at all. I actually think he, in terms of his playoff performances, he's on the similar line as guys like Harden and Embiid. Like I feel like he's been tremendous, and I feel like he's one of the most underappreciated players in the NBA.
If you put him on the same line as Harden, that means he ain't never going to win a ring.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I feel like, I mean, just in terms of how I feel like he's been underappreciated, and I feel like they need to put all their money on him.
Because I say Harden's not that guy, so JT also ain't that guy.
Well, look, granted, he got hurt. Like, he showed up at the game 7 the previous round. He had like 50, I think, at the game 7.
Yeah, 52. And then in this
it's
game
not like-
7, he twists his ankle the very first play
But
of the game.
who are you gonna say it isn't that guy if it's not Jason Tatum? Because Giannis is widely regarded as one of the best players. He only has one ring. Like I mean,
hold on.
like-
Like, so
Jason
there's a
Tatum's
couple
been in the
things-
finals already. He's pretty young. He's only
there's a
25.
couple things to this. So one of the things you have to consider is that if you're signing Jaylen Brown to the Supermax, you're basically putting $110-ish million a year between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That leaves you about $60 million to fill out the rest of your roster, depending on hold. So there's a good chance they lose Grant Williams simply because they cannot afford him to get under that second apron. Because if you hit the second apron of the luxury tax, you can't get buyout guys. You can't use your mid-level exception, and you can't trade picks for a certain amount of years. But I don't think that's any stricter than the way things have been done anyway. But like, because of that, I think it's harder to justify signing Jaylen Brown. On the other hand, if you're going to sign it, it's with the probable intention that you're going to flip it. Yeah, it's going to be harder to find a true number 2 for him. The names out there it's like Damian Lillard, and that's like really it. Yeah, I mean, they're not bringing Kyrie back. I don't know really who you can like load them up to with some of these teams to try to trade. Like even if you trade him to Portland because Portland decides that he's their number 2 guy, and you're like, okay, we'll get the 3rd pick, Anthony Simons, and Nazir Little. I don't know, whatever makes the math work, like something like that. Like, I don't know how much. I think that may help a little bit, just because you can like stabilize your late game play with like an actual point guard who does this type of shit. But the other thing was like the Missoula stuff. They're losing a bunch of coaches. Like a bunch of them are going to Houston with eBay. So it really depends. Like, because of how this tax is coming in, with the second apron and the new CBA, unlike the last time they did this, where they had 1 year spike and then they put it in. This year, there's no gap year. Next year's that mega tax, and there's a couple of teams that are already screwed for it. So the question is like, how are you just going to try to eat it for like a year or two, and then try to figure it out? Because it's not like this group hasn't been successful, but it's like very clear that these two are not going to be the guy. Like, Jaylen Brown is not going to be the second best player on a finals team, because he still has like the same weaknesses that he had like a couple years ago. Like Jason Tatum got better from last year. Like, he's like, shit, I can't handle contact with Jaylen Brown still can't dribble. Like, that's crazy. Like, neither of them are fantastic passers. You don't have to be like LeBron Jokic level, but you could be better passers than they currently are.
JT still a turnover king.
He's still like 25. He's fine.
Do we have any concerns about Jalen? You know, one game he does have 52, and then others he, is under par. Say the same with Jimmy Butler, but
Jalen or Jason?
sorry, did I say Jalen? Jason Tatum.
I think some of that has to do with the coaching. I don't think they really had a scheme that really set them up. Besides, kind of like an earlier Harden's Houston, where it was basically shoot a bunch of threes. Because I mean, it's statistically the right thing, but they need some type of downhill game more often, especially when the threes aren't going in. And they
Well, you're hot. You're hot.
Yeah, but like when they're not, so you gotta. I don't know if it's a player thing or if it's a coaching thing where you have to be able to adjust, and they just didn't seem to do it. Like I'm not like I agree with Hayden. Jason Tatum is a very good player. And
Top
I mean,
10?
he's only 20. He's only 25 years old. So I mean, imagine what he's gonna be.
Granted, how much better do these guys like when you're at this level? I don't know how much ultimately better he's going to get. I don't know if he's a post up game. Maybe that would help him. But like, yeah, I agree. It takes too many threes. But it's not. I'm not worried about him. I would be more worried about the fact that Jaylen Brown's been in the league for like a decade, and he like can't dribble at all. Like it's understandable that dudes like Danny Green can't dribble, but he doesn't need to. Like every time Eric Gordon dribbles, it's always looks odd. But they could like they're better dribblers than Jaylen Brown. Well, maybe not Danny Green, but like Eric Gordon is.
All right. Some good stuff there. So ultimately, we should see the Celtics look different one way or the other in terms of the players or the coaching staff. And we'll see ultimately where that leads us. But other things and faces I'd like to you introduce and talked about, specifically the Ringer podcast, Ringer Podcast and Network. A definite big influence of the Productive Conversations and soon to be Productive Nation podcast and network. But we have Ryan Russillo and Bill Simmons talk CBA, which goes in effect July 1st. And taking this from the Athletic, some of the things that will take place is NBA postseason awards, such as the MVP and all NBA teams. Players will now have to play at least 65 games to qualify for them. But there are qualifiers according to league sources. And the three exceptions there: one, bad faith on a part of the teams, an injury exception, and one for just unjust circumstances. But ultimately, just a way to obviously make sure we see these star players play more and fix this load management problem. That's the one thing I got out of the new CBA rules. But Bach, would like to have you elaborate what should be noticed here when the CBA goes in effect on July 1st. You did hit on a little bit on the luxury tax.
It's not just so there's the apron tax, because they're basically what happened is the last time they negotiated, there was a lockout, and then there was that 2016 spike, and all the guys in that class got like uber paid, and that's basically how Durant ended up there. And one of the guys, the president, or maybe the vice president, it's CJ McCollum, who recognized that, hey, that was fucked up. I benefited from it, and I shouldn't have been able to get this type of money when nobody else did. Like, there's the John Wall quote is, "I'm making as much money as Reggie Jackson." Like they just got paid and stuff when they didn't. So what they tried to do is smother it. This is which they might have done, but so to the 65 game limit, there's a couple things we need to recognize. It's going to lead to some weird, funky records of players. Like Zion Williamson will never be an All NBA player. Like at any point, Kawhi is never going to be another All NBA player. There's a good chance LeBron never ends up with another All NBA.
What about Anthony Davis?
His career. Yeah, Anthony Davis is probably never going to be another All NBA. Like we're going to have seasons where there's going to be guys who are clearly the best 15 guys who played like 55 games or 60 games or 62 games or something, where they're not eligible for rewards. And that's going to impact them for their money, because a lot of the Supermax stuff is tied into whether or not you make third team only. There's a good chance Julius Randle makes some third team NBA because like the next two guys didn't play enough games. Like, or DeMar DeRozan makes another one, or Zach LaVine makes one where because there's like 4 shooting guards, and like that's something to recognize as well. But the cap thing is big because a lot of these times you can't fill out your team once you do this. I actually think the cap should have been around 200 million, especially if you're looking at the way contracts are, where it's usually your best two guys make between about 50 and 60 million dollars a year ish. So that's about half of your cap space to fill out the rest of your roster. And if you hit that cap, you can't get the mid-level guys. And the mid-level thing is good for people like Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles is probably not going to see another $6 million contract, 6 to 8 or whatever the meeting. I think it was in that range from like a Milwaukee. He's going to see like a 2 to 3. He's going to see like a 1 to 2. Like those guys are going to get squeezed, and then the guys at the bottom who are getting like the super vet minimums or like the undrafted guys, they're going to get squeezed harder. And this is going to affect team building, but it's also going to affect teams like Oklahoma City, they're going to have to pay Shea the supermax. They're going to have to pay Josh Giddey a supermax. There's a chance that they're going to have to pay Chet a fuck ton of money. They're going to have to pay Jalen Williams a fuck ton of money. They have 45 million draft picks coming up. Like this structure is going to impact the way that teams build for the future, because a lot of teams have set up for this decade, like the Jazz, the Pelicans, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Spurs, to some example. Like the teams that have kind of tanked their way into relevance are now going to have to figure out how to do this and change the way that contracts are going to work. So it's going to be probably a lot more declining contracts, a lot more guys maybe trying to take less money and maybe getting more incentivized off of other things in order to do this, because the teams aren't going to be able to just kind of spend in the way that the Warriors did and that some of these other teams did, because these penalties are so restrictive. Like if you can't do buyout guys and you can't do mid-level guys, you're basically like stuck signing Torrey Craig every season. Like for example, like Phoenix is screwed. Like they have like $10 to fill out the rest of the roster because Durant's making like 47, Booker's making a fuck ton, Ayton's making 30 million. Chris Paul, like they're going to have to trade some of these guys in order to fill out their roster under this cap. Like the same thing, like Golden State and Golden State's cap situation for next year, they're $200 million. They're already like 20
and we just saw their GM leave.
Yeah,
they're 20 million above the apron already. Like they're probably going to have to trade Jordan Poole and Kuminga just to get under. The Clippers are at 195 million, and they still have their own free agents to offer. Like it is going to change the way that teams build in a way that the players and the teams aren't ready for. And it's going to both negatively impact the teams that are built to win now and the teams that are built to win in the future. The guys in the middle, like the Knicks and shit, they're probably fine for it right now.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be an interesting time for the league, because for a while we just been crazy spending as a way to win, free agents over, and now we don't have that anymore. I know you look at some of the big contracts back a few years ago, and you question every day the Timothy Mozgovs, the Lou Dangs, all that kind of money. That was just the Wild West at the time. But yeah, I completely agree. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams build going forward, knowing that they have a lot more restrictions than before. And I think looking at the Thunder is a perfect example, because they have a bunch of young talent, and eventually, as it's looking right now, most of that young talent is panning out between Shea, Giddey, Jalen Williams, hope Chet pans out, and there are a bunch of other picks they have. So they're going to be having to spend money. And then at that moment, it's like, if they're competing now, it's like, do we offset some of that to get, veteran talent that's cheaper, so we don't have to pay the young guys? So I think it's going to be a really, really interesting time the next few years to see how team building is done. Is it more penny pinching, or,
Well, some teams have to. Like
Yeah.
some of these teams have to, because these contracts are already on the books, so they didn't realize this was coming. Like they did a bad job of negotiating this without having it come in like maybe in 2 years down the road where teams could get an idea and get ready for this. It just bam, you're screwed down. So the teams are going to have to decide, what am I doing? Like there's going to be teams like, unless Oklahoma City can say, hey, Jalen, I need you to take like a $20 million cut. Like they may have to trade, or like they cannot afford these guys. Like there's a good chance Grant Williams walks because they cannot afford him. There's a chance that guys like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus walk because they cannot afford them. Like first off, the idea that they have like $10 million, like we're never going to see like a Duncan Robinson get $90 million. Like that shit has never
Fair
happened.
No, yeah, I
So,
think
like,
the
those
early
are the
age
guys who got
contracts
fucked.
becomes.
Not a bad thing for someone who misses all those open shots when it matters.
Well, like yeah, but it hurts those guys. It hurts those guys.
Yeah.
It hurts the like a DeAndre Ayton type player is never getting anywhere near that much money. But it's good for the guys at the top because if you get your two guys who make up like 90% of your cap, they're getting paid. And it's basically like crumbs for everybody. Like you can't pay like you're maybe gonna be if you have a guy who's like 50, 60 million, like you have two of those, your third guy is gonna make like 10 instead of making 25 to 18 to 25. Like that's what the trickle down. Like guys like I don't know, like I don't even know who would be a perfect example of this. I guess Desmond Bain, like if you're putting the money into like Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bain's contract is not going to be like whatever Tobias Harris is. It's going to be like Duncan Robinson. It's going to be like 3 for 30. Like they literally cannot sign them to larger contracts.
Yeah. I also just want to say, I was thinking all that. I'm like, I think the age of like future contracts, like projecting the future, like Duncan Robinson, right? Like the Heat gave him that contract thinking he was going to continue to develop. And he just like, he's hasn't. He's went from being good to inconsistent, right? I think now with this new CBA, I think that's done. I unless they are a clear cut, like superstar level player, I don't think the guys like Duncan Robinsons of the world or Gabe Vincent's even, who have these great, you look at Caleb Martin right now too. It's like who have these great postseasons or whatever. Like they're not going to get like, oh, you had a great postseason. We hope you can do that now. Translate that to the regular season. Here's a 4-year, $90 million contract. We hope everything works out. Jordan Poole too, right? Like, that kind of didn't pan out. Can you blame Draymond on that? Sure. Maybe he leaves and he becomes a Jordan Poole old, right? But I just think teams are going to be really weary on extensions unless they clearly know these guys are going to be stars.
Yeah,
we
and
at least
also like the guys who are doing this, like it's going to make the first picks, like it's going to put more pressure on these first overall picks and stuff to like win now, and for like teams to figure out how to build it. Like San Antonio is in a weird spot. Like how are you going to afford? Like they have cap space, so they can absorb some of this to try to figure it out. But they got guys who are coming up. Devin Vassell is going to be coming up soon. They still don't have a center. I think that they're probably going to trade Keldon. And this, like thinking about this, you can't Orlando can't do the Dame trade because he's under contract to like 2027, and they're gonna have to pay Franz. They're gonna have to pay Paolo. They might have to pay Bobo. They might have to pay what's his face Wendell Carter. Like they got all these young guys, and you can't go get that guy with all these rookie contract guys unless you know that guy is going to get you to win now, and then all these rookie guys are going to take cuts.
do we at least see any benefit on the competitive aspect, having more teams in it?
I don't know. I mean, like we have to wait because we don't know if teams are going to say fuck it anyway and just go over the cap.
Exactly, yeah.
Like people will still go to the Hornets because they give them like $40 to $30 million over the cap space because they want the money, and then they don't care and they won't play like Nick Batum did when they signed him. Like those contracts are still going to exist somewhere. Like teams are going to be able to find, like if you want the money you'll find it, but I don't know how much it'll affect the competitiveness. I think the idea that we're going to have like big threes and stuff is probably over.
Well, some people are excited for that, both traditional.
Yeah, well,
and
like I'm fine with that, but like
that.
You bring back the big three.
Should be.
Well, that's been working so well.
There should be some type of benefit for a team that keeps their guys. Like Denver kept their guys. Like Oklahoma City is going to more or less be forced to choose. Or Golden State, like is the perfect example. Steph Curry's been there for years. Like there should be a point where if you've been with your team for like a decade, and again, Bill was right about this. Like your salary at a certain level, like if you've been with your team for a decade, some percentage of it on an increasing scale as your salary goes up and as your years with the team go up should count less against the cap. So like you could still pay Steph Curry $250 million but only like 40 million of it that year count against the cap. So you have a little bit more wiggle room because you've had that guy for a decade. So you could keep all your homegrown guys and you're not like forced to trade them because your team is up against the hard cap with like 17 players left to sign.
Oh man, the future's going to be bright. And again, this all will become official on the 7th. Oh, sorry, 7th. Why I say that? The 7th month, but on July 1st. So we'll see how that all pans out. And quick thing that also broke right before this. Did you guys see that Shannon Sharpe is leaving undisputed right after the
Yeah.
NBA Finals?
I actually did not see that. So
Yeah,
Where's it going?
Don't know. He
Um,
agreed to a buyout with
I
Fox
didn't see that either.
exactly. It broke about an hour and a half ago.
Mhm.
I
So-
don't, I
So
don't
he's
watch
done?
this or shows like that, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I wonder if this is a result after the Damar Hamlin incident. It seemed like that beef
is it gonna
really
be?
got high.
Is it gonna be like an emotional thing when he leaves Skip?
I don't
I
think
don't know.
so.
I guess we'll see at the
Yeah,
at
I
the
think
end of the
they're- yeah.
finals.
yeah. I was gonna
But
say,
it wasn't
I
a
think,
fallout. It wasn't a fallout between him and Skip, though, right? Like Stephen A.
it-
and Skip.
We don't know that.
a little bit. We don't know for sure. There was definitely some tension these last few months between the two of
There
them.
wasn't a falling out between Skip and Stephen A. when they left. They left.
Yeah,
Absolutely
so,
not.
like-
there wasn't. Those two actually loved each other.
Yeah. So like I think they're gonna mutually respect each other and leave. Like I don't think like Skip's gonna rip Shannon for agreeing to a buyout. I think it kind of became, at least maybe from Shannon's perspective, that it was just the end of the road between them and their relationship, and he doesn't want it, I guess, to be affected in a negative way. I think from the stuff that happened with some of the previous fallouts, I think they talked about it long and hard, and that's why they stuck together these last few months. But I think Shannon just wants to move on. I think they'll end it peacefully. I would hope. I would not. I would hate to see the two of them, go on separate podcasts after the fact and rip one another after all the years they've been together. So it's definitely an interesting time to hear it. I wasn't.
I mean, what
surprised,
you
but-
have to realize is that like Shannon Sharpe could try to like stake his territory in the way, but like Skip Bayless is like in terms of sports media, he's right behind like Stephen A. because he's the
Yeah,
one who
Skip's gonna be
people want to
fine.
listen to. They want to listen to Skip more than they want to listen to Shannon Sharpe. Like
Skip's gonna be fine. Shannon's gonna be
I
fine.
love Shannon.
Yeah, like Shannon.
I mean,
Shannon
I
can
like
either
Shannon
go
Sharpe
to
too,
the
but
middle or
Skip
just relax.
Bayless's voice in the sports media world is
Yeah, he's got more of the knowledge.
he's a preeminent figure. Just because
You-
people want to listen to what he says, because what he says is so crazy most of the time that they
Yeah,
just
you got
don't
your-
believe what they're hearing.
You got your sports analyst and your former player. Maybe not basketball, but he played football, so former player. He does bring the knowledge of a former player. I will say that it's an era that will be missed. I will say that.
Yeah, I'll miss the Shannon memes because some of those memes were
Uncle Shay,
freaking
Uncle Shay.
unbelievable.
Mhm.
Unbelievable. Some of those memes that came out of that show.
Anyone want to throw names? Who should replace Shannon Sharpe? Probably going to be an athlete. If he's going to replace him, throw it out
I gotta
there.
tell you, I'd put JJ Redick on that show. I would say
Ooh,
I would.
that's a
say
good pick.
I
JJ
would.
Redick.
Leaving to go
JJ
there.
I
Redick
would.
with Skip Bayless, that would be, oh my god, that would be unbelievable if they could do that, but they're not going to.
Hey, was
JJ
it
Redick's actually
Steven?
has head coaching interviews, so
Was it Stephen A. and Max that fell out? Max Kellerman and Stephen
Yeah.
A.
yeah,
Nice
they
follow.
didn't have a
Yeah.
falling out. They actually liked each other. It's just they didn't work well together. Like they,
Yeah, the
they
ratings
didn't
for
have
the
good
two of them were-
chemistry.
So
They didn't have good chemistry
Nah.
because
Yeah,
I read his book.
Max was looking foolish. a lot
I
of the
read his
time.
I read his book. I read his book.
Stephen A's.
Yeah, Stephen A's book, Straight Shooter, and like he actually liked Matt Kellerman personally. They just didn't gel like professionally, and like it's just they didn't have good chemistry on there. That's what it was.
Stephen A.
Mm.
Word.
What if Stephen A. leaves? He won't ever leave ESPN. But imagine he left to rejoin with Skip.
To go to Fox too.
They would. They
Yeah.
love each other.
Mhm.
Those two love each other. They're gonna have a reunion at one point. Definitely.
What?
It's like
They're
Mike.
gonna
It's
have
like
They're
it's
gonna
like
have an
Mike and the
ESPN
Mad Dog.
baby.
It's like Mike and the Mad Dog. Mike and the Mad Dog still. I mean, they've had reunions before. It's like it was the same thing like Skip and Stephen A.
Jeez. Yeah, I just wonder who. There's no one at the top of my head I could think of. Who?
You.
Me? Of course I'll go one-on-one with Skip Bayless. Let's do this. That's why I train every day with this show for that. It'd
not
be
even
fun to
kidding
see
you.
any of you
An
guys.
interesting guy to put on would be Brandon Marshall.
Brandon Marshall.
Brandon
Yo,
Marshall's been
I
doing
thought
well in
of-
the
I thought
podcast
of-
game lately.
I
Though.
thought of Brandon Marshall. I thought of Brandon Marshall. That's funny. That's pretty funny.
If they wanted to, that would be a good guy. That would be an interesting guy to put on, but I don't really know.
I've
Man, I
tuned
put
into
Champ.
some of his radio shows, and he's actually like
He's
a
actually pretty good. Like I
interesting mod.
actually kind of like him.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Should be JJ though. JJ's been killing it.
Yeah, I
I'd
guess
kill him.
hate
I guess he would
JJ.
have to just get bought out himself at ESPN. And yeah, JJ
I
Redditt
thought
has
you were talking
definitely-
about John Jastrzemski, but no,
Oh.
JJ Redick's cool. John Jastrzemski,
I forgot about him.
I'm not a fan of.
Man, Brian Scalabrine. Bring
What about
Scalabrine.
Carton? What about Carton and Stephen A. and Skip Bayless together? Oh my God, Carton and Skip
No.
Bayless.
Me and Alex were talking about we'd be happy with that. We're not Carton guys, so
Yeah, we're not.
You can leave the
Carton guys.
fan.
I would not tune into that show at all.
Yo.
And Carton, oh man, that is
Put
not
Keyshawn
appointment
Johnson on there.
television. That's hard pass television for me.
Look, Keyshawn Johnson.
Johnson. Okay. So
Just shut
basically, a lot of us I guess with ESPN and Fox being the heavy hitters there, you could just go switch. Yeah, Pat McAfee's going to ESPN, so
They might get Ryan Leaf
Oh,
too.
Pat McAfee's going there.
yeah, he's gonna do his show's gonna stay the same on YouTube and channel, but he's leaving
They might-
FanDuel to do
They
ESPN.
might get Ryan Leaf on there too. He's
Ryan Leaf.
Yeah.
It'd be a nice story.
The little comeback story there.
Yes, possibilities are endless. So let us get to this part, guys. Let us say it right here, right now. Let us make our finals predictions. Pick the numbers, 4-1, 4-2, and the team. And let's see how accurate we will be. And we will see who legit was right or wrong.
I got the Nuggets in 5. It's easy.
Hayden Nuggets in
I
5.
got,
Okay.
I got Nuggets in 4. Calling for a sweep. Don't think the Heat are gonna be able to size up with them. So Nuggets in 4.
Oh, okay. I like that. Nuggets at 4 for a Young.
I got Nuggets in 5.
Nuggets in 5. Okay. Faces
Before
with that.
Before I answer, how many of y'all took Boston last series?
I did.
I did.
I took them in
I
6,
I did as
think.
well.
Yeah, Heat in 6, baby. Because I gotta be the one. I gotta
Heat in
be the one.
6.
Heat in
Okay,
6.
but like,
Heat in 6.
can we
Heat in
acknowledge that
6.
like a third of your arguments were in favor of why the Nuggets would win?
A third of my arguments were to show if Jimmy Butler decided to watch PCP real quick, he would realize what he got to do real quick. You know what I'm saying? But hey, a third of my arguments, but 2/3 of my arguments was about how the Heat can take this. So hey, if we're doing
Yeah, but when
statistics,
your arguments
numbers on
were
my
why
side.
the Heat should win, they shouldn't have been about why the Nuggets are gonna win.
Hey, listen,
That's called
listen.
not being a good debate, bro.
Oh.
hey, I think I hit
To
my
be fair,
point.
I
Whoa!
didn't when you're doing this.
Whoa, we got to put on the gloves in this chat. Whoa.
I'm sorry, I
Yo,
missed it.
listen,
What do you say?
I think. Hey, listen. I think I debated my points just right. Okay, I said exactly what the Nuggets have to do to win, and I don't think I stated much what the Heat got to do to win because the Heat already know what they got to do to win. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, yeah, it's easy to sound like the 6th grade basketball coach. Take out their best
Hey.
players, play good defense, and make shots.
And have a little bit of fun. Yeah. Do the Joe Mazzulla at the end.
listen. Joe Mazzulla said, yep, okay. He got his best pop on. All right, he got his best pop on. You should be happy about that box. Joe Mazzulla's walking in
course
the
I am. Pop is the best.
Doc Popovich
Pop is
shoes.
the GOAT.
But you know who's the best now? Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra,
still
7
Pop.
finals experiences.
Still, Pop is still a better coach. His team is just bad.
I can't say that. If he was a better coach and he'd be bringing these guys who got drafted to the top, but they're not doing nothing. That's all I'm really saying. Like, but
Just
you got
started
Eric Spoelstra.
rebuilding, and
You
he's
got
got
Eric Spoelstra.
more.
You
He's
got
got
Eric
twice as
Spoelstra,
many
undrafted
rings
players,
as
and I
Well,
know
that's not the point he's making. He's saying that who's the better coach right now, like in the present moment. And Eric Spoelstra right now in the present moment is a better coach than Greg
is the better
Popovich.
coach. He's
Not
got
saying
9
Greg
undrafted
Popovich
players
is a better
taking the
coach.
I don't
Not
know.
saying-
No, I don't know.
Not saying in
First
terms
off,
of
that's
career.
not really
Not saying in
fair
terms of
Taking the boys to the
career.
top.
Greg Popovich is the greatest coach in NBA history, but right now, if you're
I
looking
don't
at
know if
coaches
that's
right now,
I don't know if you can
I would
argue
say Eric
Spo is a
Spoelstra
better
at this
coach,
exact
and his team
time,
is so much better.
right now,
Eric
is a better
Spoelstra
coach
right
than-
now is a
yeah.
better coach
I agree with
than
him on
anyone
that.
else in the league.
I'm not saying
He is sick.
overall.
He
I'm
is
not
sick.
saying overall. Greg
He
Popovich
is
is the greatest coach in NBA history, but
He is
right,
sick.
let's go there right now. It's like
He is
comparing,
sick.
like, is Bill Belichick a better coach than like a guy who's like having a great year in the NFL?
What was
It would be
better
like
than
compare. It would be like
the
yeah.
Kansas Chief coach.
Andy
What?
Reid.
Yeah, it would be
Yeah,
like
is he a better
I'm trying to
coach
make
than Andy Reid?
I'm trying to make a comparison. Like it's
That's the comparison. Is he a better coach than Andy Reid?
who?
Hmm.
Bill Belichick? No,
No,
not
Bill
right now. No, not at this moment. No.
Wait, hold on. Bill Belichick hasn't been a better coach than Andy Reid in a long time.
Yeah,
So
since
Well, to be fair, Andy Reid has been in two of the last three
Yeah.
Super Bowls, while Bills hasn't been there since 18.
Been in Cancun.
I mean, also the Spurs are in rebuilding, so you can't really like judge.
Yeah,
it. I mean, the Spurs
that's
are in
that.
complete
I literally
rebuilding.
said that like
Rebuilding.
3 times.
It's like, no, you can't judge it. Like you can't judge. Like it's hard to judge. But I would say I would say right now Eric Spoelstra is the better coach because
Give it like 2 years of Wemby, and we'll have a different.
Listen, man, as
It will be when they start winning. It's an entirely different conversation. But I'm just looking in terms of what each team's doing right now.
Listen, homie.
It's hard to compare, but
listen,
right now
homie,
Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. I would
as a
say.
Heat
Yeah,
fan,
really
I-
true. It's
Heat
him and
fan,
Mike
fuck them
Malone.
Spurs.
At this exact moment.
It's only
As a
him and
Heat
Mike
fan,
Malone.
fuck them Spurs.
So
Mhm.
As a Heat fan, fuck them Spurs.
Hey man, you got a fucking title off of Ray Allen travel. Like you ruined Tim Duncan being undefeated at the finals.
Yo, it sounds like a bunch of caterwauling to me. You heard?
He takes
But-
9 sets.
that was a travel, 100%.
Hey, call it what
You think it was a
want,
travel,
right?
Young?
We call it a championship.
I have to go back and look at the tape, but
He takes like 9 steps.
because you have the ability.
It
I
Yo,
also,
hey, Young
think,
got the
I also
ability.
think Tim Duncan missed a point range J in the game 7. I want to say that he did with like under when they're down 2. with,
Yes,
like,
yes.
under.
Okay, I'm sorry. The best player of his generation made one mistake at one point in his career.
No,
But he was goal.
I'm just saying for that. That could
Tim
have
Duncan
altered
was
the
like
series.
37
That
years
could
old
have
at
altered
that
the
point.
series.
Everybody gets one. Everybody gets one. He did
Yeah,
his.
he got
That-
5.
And look what it cost him. Look what it cost him.
Oh,
My
well,
lighting is bad right
Matt,
now,
what's,
but
what's your prediction before we completely go way
Yeah.
off the rails here?
Exactly.
Let's go, Matt.
everyone. What's your prediction, Matt?
I'm going with Denver in 6. I think this Heat team can squeeze out 2 wins, but Denver is going to win their first ever NBA Finals. And yeah, guys, well, that was great in every sense of the word. We're going to watch Game 1 on Thursday, Game 2 on Sunday, and we're going to record on
Matt.
Monday. We're back on Tuesday talking
Matt.
about Game 1 and Game 2.
Matt.
Yep.
Let's not forget that this Heat team is the first 8 seed to make it with a full 82 games. With a full 82 games.
That is true.
But they're
Yes,
not a real
technically.
8 seed. And also, remember what happened the last time an 8th seed made it to the finals?
Don't remind me.
Me
I'm
neither.
going to talk all day about that shit.
It
Don't
started
remind me.
it started a
Number one.
dynasty. All right, guys, I will talk to you on Monday, and we will release it on Tuesday. Have a great night.
We're not.
Later.